I'm going to pass on to our first speaker, if you will. I mean, he's going to do a little introduction, kind of warm us up a little bit and talk a little bit about his involvement with Headucate. Julian's been involved with Headucate longer than I have, so I think he's a lot more qualified to talk about it than I am. So thank you so much for joining us.
So, hello everyone, good morning. If you just take one look at me, you can see the stress that Headucate has caused. You know, no one would believe I was in my mid-20s, but there we go. So, I'm Julian Beezhold. I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I work locally in liaison psychiatry at the Norfolk and Norwich. I'm also the co-lead or the joint lead for the psychiatry module at the Norwich Medical School. And I'm the Secretary General of the European Psychiatric Association. So I have various things which I dabble in. But I really wanted to start by thanking Tori and the Headucate crew for organizing this fantastic event. I don't know if people realize what an absolutely stellar cast of speakers Tori and her colleagues have managed to put together, but you are all in for a real treat this weekend. I also want to say thank you to the sponsors, and I especially want to say thank you to all of you who've come to attend and listen and take part, because of course without you nothing's going to happen. So thank you very much. I was thinking about what I could say about Headucate, but I kind of feel in a number of ways. Firstly, you will hear about Headucate in various ways during this meeting, but I think I'll just say a little bit. So Headucate started about 2012, or I think the idea probably started the year before, and it started with someone called Susie Parker, who was a medical student at the time and just thought there's a lot of talk about mental health in schools, but no one really seems to be doing anything, so why don't we do something? So she got together with some other students and they created Headucate, and the idea was that they'd go into schools and run sessions to promote mental health awareness and to teach some very basic kind of competencies or ideas in terms of promoting good mental health. But it's not so easy just to walk into school and teach these things. There are a lot of very significant safeguards to protect children from random people wandering into schools and doing all sorts of weird things. So at the time I was governor of a primary school, and even with my connections through that, it took a long time, and by that I mean a couple of years, before Headucate was able to get its first invitation to go into a school to do a kind of pilot session. But that was very successful, and the rest is history. Headucate has grown and grown and always done a load of other exciting things, and again you'll hear more of that today. I wanted to say very briefly, why psychiatry? What is it that made me become a psychiatrist, or what is good about psychiatry? I think really for me, it combines a number of things. It combines all of medicine, because you have to know about all the physical conditions and about the mental conditions, psychological conditions. And it's very much about people. It's about talking to people, understanding people, working with people to try and make improvements or help where they are struggling with mental health conditions. But it's also slightly different from a lot of other specialties in that there are a lot of negative attitudes towards mental health problems, or people with mental health problems, or dare I say it, even staff who work in the area of mental health. And so to me that felt like a bit of a challenge. I thought maybe I could try at least and do something useful there, and I haven't been disappointed. It's a great field to work in. I wanted to just move on now. So Tori, I'm hoping you've got my slides up here, have you? Or shall I put them up? Aha, excellent. So I'm now going to just do a little quiz, and the reason I'm doing a little quiz is because while I was thinking about what to say, my mom popped into my head. Now, my mom passed away a few years ago at the age of 91, but she was kind of a feminist icon. She as a woman, never really got this idea that women somehow couldn't do things. And in fact, she saw no reason why men why women couldn't do anything a man could do, and often better. So I thought I'd ask you a little quiz about some women. So I'm not asking people to really answer, just to think for yourself. So who is this person we're looking at here? You'll see from the image it's some years ago. And this is someone whose name is quite well known in Norwich. She is, of course, Mary Chapman. Now, Mary Chapman has a series of buildings named after her and so on. She was born in the mid-1600s and had a significant amount of money. And in 1713, she used that money to build what became the Bethel Hospital. So it was a purpose-built hospital for people with mental disorders, and it was the first ever purpose-built hospital for mental health problems in the whole country. And it was aimed at poor people, not at wealthy people. And that hospital stayed open for 282 years until finally in 1995 it closed, and still visible. The building's still there in Bethel Street in Norwich, although obviously it's now luxury housing. Well, this person, so this is Eleanor Fleury, who was the first woman to become a member of the Medico-Psychological Association, which is a predecessor of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, in 1894. She was actually Irish rather than British, and one of the reasons you may not have heard of her is because apart from being a psychiatrist and working in Dublin and the surrounding area, she was also an enthusiastic Irish nationalist and was actually jailed several times for her activities in that direction. The first British woman to join or be accepted as a member of the Medico-Psychological Association was this lady. And she's Jane Elizabeth Waterston. In 1895 was accepted as a member. This caused slight consternation at the time because women weren't really allowed to be members. In fact, I think they was explicitly forbidden by the rules from being members, and they had to change the rules in order to allow these women to join. She, like Eleonora, spent most of her career outside the UK, though, and in fact worked in South Africa. The third woman to join the Medico-Psychological Association in 1898 was Helen Boyle. She is really an astonishing woman. She worked in the UK for her whole career. She founded what is now the mental health charity Mind. She was a founding member of the Federation of Medical Women. But she was also in 1939, so this is after some years, elected as the president of the Medico-Psychological Association, again the predecessor Royal College of Psychiatrists, so the first woman ever to hold that position. The second woman to be elected, and the first as president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists, was Dame Fiona Caldicott. Now, many of you will have heard her name. She passed away recently. And you've heard of the Caldicott Guardian or Caldicott Principles and so on. So this is all her. She was the first woman to be president of the Royal College of Psychiatrists and very well known. She went on to be the president of Somerville College in Oxford and many, many other achievements. Danuta Wasserman is a more contemporary woman, leader. She is now the president-elect of the World Psychiatric Association, and she's a past president of the European Psychiatric Association. She works in Sweden, but she's actually Polish in origin and was a refugee who fled from Poland and went to Sweden, was accepted as a refugee, and has gone on to great things. She's probably the world's leading expert on suicide and related topics. This is one of your speakers, Mariana Pinto da Costa, who you will meet in due course. Now, Mariana is someone who's very much well, she's already a leader in psychiatry, but I predict great things for her in the future. She has been the president of the European Federation of Psychiatric Trainees. She's been the chair of the early career psychiatrists at the European Psychiatric Association, and she's the chair of the Council of Early Career Psychiatrists at the World Psychiatric Association. She's published loads of stuff already, I think 160 plus papers, and you'll see more of her. Now, just to make the point that Headucate has a bit of influence, so this is Claire Robertson in both pictures, who's one of the founding members of Headucate. And you see her in a picture with Danuta Wasserman, and on the other side is Silvana Goldarisi, who's also past president of the European Psychiatric Association. And in the second photo, Claire's with Norman Sartorius, who has been president of the European Association, president of the World Association. He was the WHO director of mental health for many years. He's the person who put ICD-10 together, the blue book. That's his name, effectively on the cover as author. And he's been a huge inspiration to generations of early career psychiatrists. This is the founder of Headucate, Susie Parker, and this was the most difficult photo to get hold of, but there she is, the founder of Headucate. And then last but by no means least, I don't know if any of you can work out who this one is, but this is a kind of live action photo of the chair of Headucate, Tori. So apologies, Tori, but I couldn't resist it. So very much a current and future leader as well. So I just wanted to leave you with that, a few ideas about women who are great role models and leaders. Thank you very much.